I think safe communities have to be built around difficult conversations and trust.
It's like the light switched off and anger wells up inside.
You're like hit by a bus physically and mentally you're not really functioning.
Remember the song I sang? I just recorded it. And I just want you to listen to it and let it take you where it takes you. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
This is the one that you sang when you were at our house.
Yes.
Right? I was thinking about that the other night.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, sweet.
But this song, it's not the song that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got the, you know what I'm saying? The full.
We went full vulnerability.
You see I'm fragile, but I know I come off as strong.
That song makes me emotional every time.
I could cry
Every
now,
time. It makes me so emotional.
but you won't understand what is wrong.
Oh, you actually got
actually emotional.
Hope is too sad.
This is what's amazing about Dia for all the listeners is like space making with music and words before doing something, and I think that's so ceremonial and beautiful. But that song really is so for mothers. It is so for mothers, and you know, the feelings of strength and weakness and vulnerability. You know, it's really
now I'm
really
getting
beautiful.
Emotional.
Yeah, it's really beautiful and hard, like motherhood.
I'm your host, Lady Dia Melodia. I'm your host, Lady Dia Melodia.
Willie for Millie, what up?
I'm your host, Lady Dia, aka Lady Dia Melodia. Shout out to all the mamas out there and to all future parents listening. Get your notebook, baby, cause you going to class.
I'm still a baby. I can't do that.
You are listening to Kristin Jones, artist, craniosacral therapist, and mother. What are you thinking about for yourself? Why does this connect with you?
I think it connects because like the song is very, I mean, your voice is like carrying those emotions, I think, but then there's also a lot of complexities about not trusting men in particular if you're with a partner who is a man. And a lot of the dynamics that go along with raising a kid with a man, you know, and understanding each other and difficulties around understanding each other's experiences, I think. I think that really hits home for me. Yeah.
Do you, when you think of yourself before a mother, does this take you back to that? Or does it take you to your current mother self now? Is there a longing for the self before motherhood in a way?
I think because I'm pregnant as well, I think motherhood is like kind of all consuming right now for me. But there's always a longing for like who I was before I became a mother.
And who were you?
I think a lot of the times when I'm like, I have that feeling of like yearning, it's the person who had time to like go for 3-hour hikes alone in the woods and figure my stuff out. And I think just that space to figure out where my head was at, where my heart was at. I think I had more time to do that. And I think that gave me confidence with how I spoke to people and how I moved through life. And motherhood gives me confidence. It's just a different space. Mm-hmm.
Are you confident still speaking to people though, or how does that?
I mean, we're in COVID, so like isolation changes that. True. But I think I'm probably less confident. I think I feel confident talking with mothers. It's like sharing a cigarette with somebody. You like already have something in common. You know what I mean? So I think that speaking to mothers, I feel confident, but I don't feel as steady in who I am. Mm-hmm.
You see a
I think before motherhood, I felt really steady in who
but
I was.
I know I come off as strong. I could cry now, but you won't understand what is wrong.
Baby's tired, mama's tired, papa's tired, like everybody's exhausted. So I think it was really difficult for us at the beginning to negotiate that space. One, because we didn't really have the tools on like how to do it. I think we're really good communicators, but we weren't communicating well about parenting styles and how to like navigate exhaustion with each other. We didn't have that down, so we were like little newborn babies trying to navigate that space with each other. But I think we talked about the fact that we weren't very good at communicating at those times, and once we did that, I think that opened up the space for us to do better. And so I think a lot of times when things come up, we try to make it less about what the other person is doing and more about what the feeling is that's coming up for the person individually.
Okay.
Not the like, oh, you left your boxers right beside the laundry bin and not in the type stuff, right? Where you're just like, you know, what is it about that makes me so pissed off, right? And it's like, okay, I gotta like think about nesting, and that's what it's been for me, is nesting, right? So I think that when we come to conversations in that way, where it's about what the actual feeling is coming up for me inside, then we can actually have an open conversation about it. Instead of just being like, hey, this is pissing me off, do better. Because he is doing so much. And I think that's where parents get lost.
It's like this thing where you have to reflect. Because it's like, what is the problem? What is bothering you? For the parents out there, you know what it feels like to be tired. But, you know, even when we don't have children, you know that, oh yeah, parents are tired. But you don't really understand the tired. So please, for the people out there who are not parents, just try to give them an idea of what is this tired. It's different than just, I'm tired.
It's different. It's so different. My wonderful, amazing sister has 4 children. And when I was a teenager, she had her 2 oldest children. And I was there a lot, and she was always saying how tired she was. And I thought like, yeah, well, you're a mother. But until I had my baby, I did not know what tired was.
Yeah.
I really didn't know what tired was. You just can't. There's like tired where you're like, I'm kind of tired and grumpy. And then parenthood tired is like, you know, you can't even sling together a sentence in the morning type tired. Like, it's just, your brain is just not functioning. Your body is not rested. So I think a lot of times with parents, it's just it brings out like the pieces of yourself that you haven't really worked on, or the pieces of yourself that like usually you can spend more energy kind of going, oh, this is an insecurity, or this is like, you know, something from the past that doesn't have to do with the situation. So when you meet a tired mom on the streets or in the grocery store and she's like having a moment with her kids, it's because she's probably got this tiredness going on that she can't function. It's just, you're like hit by a bus physically and mentally you're not really functioning. You're so, okay, this is gonna sound, listeners, this is gonna sound really weird, but I was clipping my son's nails the other day and I was just like, oh my God, this is like, these are the little things that people that don't have kids don't really think about, because you're like, oh yeah, make sure you feed your baby and you bath your baby and you put your baby to sleep. I think that's the like generalized idea of what parenthood is. And it's like, okay, yes, you have to do those things, but you also have to like, you know, get in there and wash their hair good, and you have to clip their nails, and you have to like brush their hair once they start growing their hair long, and you have to like do all these things.
Brush their teeth
and make sure it's a good brush. Yeah. Right? So it's like those things are so time consuming, and I think they're so like under recognized, and it's just, that's the grind. That's what we call it at our house, is the grind. It's the daily grind where you're just like, yeah, this is what my time is looking like now. And that also goes into that tiredness, because clipping nails doesn't make you feel like accomplished. Clipping nails, you're just like, this is the thing we have to do, is like dishes or cleaning. You're not like, you know, congratulations. Or sometimes you are, because they're flailing around when you're doing it, but it's like energy expenditure. And energy is so like non-existent as the parents. So it's hard. It's hard.
Even with the nails, it's true. They grow so fast. Their nails. And if you neglect it, they're just scratches all over their face. All over their face, you know? And I feel like also it's funny when they scratch you, because they're like, okay, I am cutting your nails. Like, I'm thinking about myself.
Right? And then you're like, okay, we're going to do this now.
Yes, we're going to do this now. So, yeah, it's like those small things. Mm-hmm. You're going to have 2 children.
Yes.
How are you feeling about time?
Yeah, I'm feeling pressure.
Okay.
Pressure for time, because I know that it's going to change when we have a newborn in our house again, right? So it's like those little pockets that you can find as a parent. It's like having another kid. You have to renegotiate. You have to like create that foundation again with your partner, who's also going to be tired. You have to create that foundation with your toddler, your other child, and making sure that they're good. So it's like it compresses those pockets of space that I feel like we're finally finding again, like both individually and then also as a couple, and then also, you know, as a whole family. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that those pockets are getting slim again. But then I think I also am trying to meet that with the fact that I have a 1.5-year-old, and that he's like, you know, a well-developed boy, and he's like a happy boy, and that's a reflection of our parenting, and that we did good. And I think I really like latch on to that when I start to let the fear come in, because I know I can make the time when I need to, and I know that I can, you know, lean on my partner and say like, hey, I need this time, and that we can create it. But I feel pressure. I feel pressure and excitement. And that's like kind of parenthood, I feel like.
You are listening to Kristin Jones. They don't even know who I'm talking with. We just went zoom.
We just jumped right in. That's how I like to dive in. I'm Kristin Jones. I'm a mother.
Yes.
I'm an artist.
Yes.
I'm a body worker. I do craniosacral therapy on babies and mamas.
I love saying that. She's a craniosacral therapist.
Isn't it so funny?
Yeah.
Cranial. That's what I do. Who am I though? 32. I'm a mixed woman, so I have European heritage from my dad's side, and then I have Indigenous heritage on my mama's side. So Satu Dene from Northwest Territories. And that's interesting too. We live in like a mixed household. So we're trying to create ceremony around things of that nature that make us feel like we belong, like we're grounded. So I'd say that's another piece of who I am. Yeah. I have a 1.5-year-old and I have a baby due in June, which is like crazy. It's coming up. I'm big. I'm sweaty all the time. I've been like rubbing the sweat off my brow at least 3 times during this interview. Yeah.
I don't know if the listeners can hear. We got the babies.
Yeah, we got the babies upstairs.
We got the babies upstairs. And we hear one crying. They were doing well before. Being a mother, like did you see a shift?
Yeah, becoming a mother does this really incredible thing of widening your it becomes less about you. I mean, it's I think always things that we do are first and foremost about how something is resonating with us or something that we have to get out. But I think motherhood does this really amazing thing spatially where you widen your space about the children that you care for and the people that are in your children's lives. And I think it does open up that space wider to more community things. And I think that comes out in my artwork. It's not about necessarily something that I have encountered that I'm trying to get out about myself, although that is mixed in there with her. It's about how my experience or what I'm doing is affecting my child or my family or my community, and I'm thinking more wide, more expanded, I guess. It's like I want people to look at my artwork more, whereas before I think my artwork was just for me. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Before I was a mother, my artwork was for me. And now I want my artwork to be seen. I want it to be felt. I want people to look at it and connect with it. Yeah.
How come?
I think I'm more ready to be seen. I think becoming a mother, I literally opened my body up to the world. And I think that I'm getting emotional here and I'm not sure why, but I think that experience made me feel very weak, but it also made me feel very empowered. Like your song, actually, like to bring it full circle here, that weakness, that sensation of weakness, but also, coming off very strong. And I think that becoming a mother has forced me to be more fearless in the ways that I move through the world. And I think that's why I want it to be seen. I want people to see my vulnerability. I want people to reflect on how my vulnerability coming onto a canvas is connecting with them or not connecting with them. I'm also curious about why it's not connecting. I want it to be a space I want it to be a space maker, basically. I want it to open up a space where conversations can be had and connection can be made. And I think that fearlessness wasn't there before I became a mother.
but I know I come off as strong. I could cry now, but you won't understand what is wrong.
Okay, so Water Woman, for listeners who don't know, is a piece that I did, and I did a raffle for it, and Dia won it. And I swear, when I was writing your name down, I was like, she's gonna get it. Something happened. I don't know what happened, but when I wrote your name down, I was like, I have a feeling she's gonna get it.
I was telling Trophy, I said, I can't even message her because I wanted Water Woman so bad. I was like, no, I have to leave her alone. But I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Water Woman was, I think I started it, when did I start it? It doesn't really matter. But Water Woman is like really, really about indigeneity. So it's got the 4 directions, it's got the different colors, the white, the black or blue, the red and the yellow. And Water Woman is in the middle. And it can also be a man, actually. You know, I call it Water Woman, but I thought about it later and I'm like, dudes can have long hair, you know? And it's just, I think that person should be fluid.
And what's beautiful about your painting is even the hair, it looks like it can be dreaded. It looks like it can be in braids.
Yes.
It's very like, I also actually felt I could see myself in that.
Yes.
Which was like beautiful. I was like, you know,
that's such a compliment. That feels so good.
Yeah, I really actually like, I like how you say it could be, you know, anyone, you know, men have dreads, men like, you really can feel yourself in that. You
Good. Oh, that's such a compliment, because that's what I wanted. So the person in the middle is like a silhouette for the listeners who can't see it.
Yes, describe.
Yeah, describe. Okay, so there's the 4 direction colors are kind of, they're in the background, so they're very large. And then there's this sort of like swirly, puddly, windy, tornado-y thing in the middle as a circle. And then the person in the middle is Water Woman, or water person, I guess you could say. Just basically sitting cross-legged and I guess just riding out the storm.
Hair blowing
in the wind. And I really love that painting. And what you're saying is that you can see yourself in that, and that's what I wanted, is people to see themselves in connection with Water One, because I was thinking a lot about water at that time. But also I was thinking about land a lot. So in the colors, the 4 direction colors, there's like it kind of like splotches of paint, like thicker splotches of paint. And I was drawing around those to sort of outline them. And when I was doing that, I was thinking about how, you know, land breaks apart and then land comes together. And I was thinking about how you connect to the land and how people connect to each other and how we break apart and we come together and what that looks like for different people. So it was a lot. That one was like really, really fun to do. And it made me reflect a lot about how I connect to land, or how I don't connect to land and water and things of that nature. So yeah, it was really... Yeah, it's got my wheels turning right now, actually thinking about it. Yeah, just, I guess being on unceded Syilx territory, right, in the Okanagan, what that looks like as a person who isn't Syilx, to connect with the land and the people and the water here, and what building relationships looks like. And I don't think we talk enough about what building relationships actually looks like in like a tangible sense. I think we talk a lot about it. Even right now, we're talking a lot about that, and we don't talk about what relationship building looks like.
How have you been able to, like, you guys are very community, both of you, doing a lot of work with the Milpa, bringing community, grassroots organizing, with migrants, and really bringing grassroots movements together. Like, you know, that's both of you, you know, and your paintings speak to that and the work that you guys do. But how do you think that you can kind of infuse that understanding, that idea of building relationships, into your children? How do you do that?
I think a lot of the community building that's happening, Luis is a really, like, my partner is really like the pusher of those things. But I'm also there as like a supporter, and I think that's really key.
Yes. Yes.
That's like background stuff, right? So I feel acknowledged and appreciated with you saying that I'm a big part of that. That feels good. So I think infusing that into our children is like, it's really lit a fire under my ass about how in the things that, as much as I crave my individualism and my time away from my child and my soon-to-be children, I really just want to immerse them in the things that we're doing, because I remember my mom doing that for us when we were kids, bringing us to powwows, regardless of where we were. And that really gave me a sense of belonging, and it gave me a sense of community. And I made a lot of friends that way as a kid. And it made me feel connected. That's one of our children screaming in the background.
I wonder which one. It's like, is that my son? Oh, but not a subsequent scream.
And not a subsequent. We just the one scream, so we're good. We're back on track here. So I think I really want to connect my children with those things and have them involved and have them in those spaces. I think it's as simple as that. I think one, it's you have to have those spaces, which aren't always there and available for people. But if those spaces are there, that children should be invited. And I think that we have to talk about child care. So with the milpa, the plot of land that my partner organized for the Latin American community in Kelowna to have a space to connect with corn and beans and squash. The first year that it was there, it was so amazing. So the first year was last year. But I had so many moments of resentment because I just wanted to have my hands in the dirt. And Joaquin was still fairly new then, and I didn't have the time to do that because I was with him. And I don't know if this comes up for a lot of moms. I hope it does. I feel like it probably does, but I think those things that you want to be a part of, but you're child minding or you're caring for your child, which is so important, obviously, but it's like that longing, right, where you see people getting into the dirt and, you know, planting seeds and getting messy and those things that, you know, make you feel good that you can't always participate in because there's not child minding or what have you, childcare. Like being here now, the reason I could come today, I mean, is because you offered childcare, and I was like, thank the Lord that this is a thing, because it's so difficult if you don't have strong networks of support. And even if you do have strong networks of support, we're living with COVID, right? So it's really difficult. Yeah. It's really... It brings it back to community building. Like, it's so funny how this conversation's unraveling, right? Because it's like so simple, where it's like, yes, have community, but it's like, what does that look like? Because one, you have to trust the people, the community that you're around, because this is your child. This is like your life. When you look at your child, you're like, and this is something just like the tiredness that you can't describe. It's just like you would die for this being, this child. So building community of trust and, you know, safety and, you know, understanding each other's personal experiences. I think that's so freaking key in having community, because you have to talk about things like sensitivity around like saying no to somebody else's child. How's that parent going to react? What does that look like? Where's their comfortability with that? You know, like having somebody change your child's diaper, you know, like things like that. What does potty training look like? Do we talk about private parts? Where are we here, right? I think safe communities have to be built around difficult conversations and trust. And I think that's a massive thing that doesn't happen. It's sort of like, okay, I'm at this thing, but is so-and-so going to see if my child runs across that road if I'm looking away for like 2 minutes or whatever, right? I think those things naturally happen if there's like women around. I feel like that women are kind of watching each other's kids, which I love. But I think that the space to talk about those things can give a parent so much relief. Like even talking to you about it now, right? It's like, oh, I know, as you're nodding your head, you're like, yes, 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 yes. Yeah. It's like that makes me feel more safe and more comfortable. Yes.
You know, children, as young as they are, of course they see things, they hear things, they pick things up, right? We were talking about children picking things up. You know, so what is that they're ingesting? You know, and what is the energy, that spiritual energy as well, and the transference and you know, I want to be on the same vibe with the parents so that I know, okay, I feel safe with my child, even if I'm not there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Are we on the same ground ideologically?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, and that's huge. And we actually, Luis and I talked about this after you guys had come over for dinner that one day. Because we talked about you. This is what happens. Okay, listeners, this is what freaking happens. As you're a parent and you're building relationships and friendships with other parents, you like have a dinner or you have an outing or whatever, and then they leave, and you're like, so what do you think about them? Because you're like, do we trust them? What do you think? Like, wow, like all that stuff. So we talked about you guys, and I was just like, instantly, we like really trusted you guys, but then we got into the deeper conversation about what, like, why, like why do we get that sense of like trust with Dee and Trophy, and we talked about like, oh well, if, you know, as they're getting older, as our kids are getting older, and my son is a mixed Indigenous boy, but he's fair skin and he's blonde hair and he's blue eyes. So if there's like a talk about like, oh yeah, I'm Native, like what if my son says that and then somebody says, no, you're not because you don't look Native? Like how's that conversation gonna be had without me there? And I trust that there's like an openness and I guess like a protection of that space, and I get that sense from you guys, and I think that's so key, those ideological, you know, connections and those ideological things that people have, that parents have, that we also don't talk about, you know, and that's huge. That's huge for us. Those are important things. It's not just like, is my child physically safe? It's like, is my child going to be cared for in a way that's like conducive with how we care for him, which is saying that you belong and that you're allowed to be both things, and you're not half of anything, you're a full person. And I think we're very protective over that. We're very protective over that. And that's another thing is the community that you're surrounding yourself with, are they going to have a conversation with somebody if that comes up, and what's that conversation going to look like? Mm-hmm. Or your guys' concerns if, you know, Glory has, like, there's a, you know, a racist thing that happens. How is that going to be handled? I want to talk about how that's going to be handled. Mm-hmm. Because these things happen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever explored that in your artistry, like in your paintings, or
like my mixedness?
Yeah.
I guess it's so like it's really at the forefront a lot in our household about what that looks like. So I think that it's not uncoupled from my artwork. Mm-hmm. I'm also troubleshooting a lot still. And I think I will always continue to. I think that's how identity works. Mm-hmm. It's not really static, especially not in our household. It is not a static thing. It's always changing for us. Yeah. But I don't think I've done that in like a forefront way where I'm like, this is about my mixed identity. Mm-hmm.
I read this post where you're like, my son slept for 2 hours, so I got this much, and you posted. I was like, yo, okay, I'm recording when my son is sleeping, because sometimes when he's sleeping, I'm done, or I'm like, okay, let me prepare for the next day.
Yes.
And I always neglect myself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. The pockets of time that we're talking about and the tiredness, those all are like factors that play into having a child for caregivers, for mothers, for fathers, for guardians, for grandparents, for mamas, for papas, like for everybody, right? And sometimes you just need to rest, right? But then other times you're like, what do I need? But those pockets, those like precious little pockets that you don't ever have come up, and then you fill it with baby stuff. And then you're pissed off because you're like, why don't I have any time? And it is such a game changer when you can take that time and as soon as they're down, put the bottle on the counter or put your boob away or whatever and sit down and ask yourself, what do I need right now? And then do that thing that you need.
Oh, Erin Scott is a poet and author and stuff, and she lives in Kelowna.
Is she one of the other?
Yes, she is.
I read her profile.
Oh,
I did.
She is.
I did a little snooping.
So she's always active on like Facebook, and there was a parent that had talked about how they're having a hard time connecting with their other child because they had gone to work and stuff, and then their child, and then she was saying that because Erin has 2 young kids, right? So when she was pregnant, she was having a hard time engaging with the little bit older one, like carrying him and that connection. So the connection with the child kind of changed, and she had to really put in a different kind of effort and energy because they always wanted dada.
Yeah.
Has that happened? Have you seen that shift with Joaquin?
Like during my pregnancy?
Yeah, during your pregnancy. Is the relationship changing, or what are you thinking about after?
Yeah, so this is such a good like question because I think it comes up a lot in our mine and Luis's conversations about how Joaquin is gonna feel, because again, it's as a parent, you're so protective over how your kid is going to feel emotionally. And I think that's where we're kind of concerned because, you know, when a newborn comes into the house, you're enthralled and you're sleep deprived and you're all those things. And I think we've talked about making sure that we both have individual time with him. With Joaquin, right. With our firstborn, to make sure that he's not feeling, you know, neglected. But as a pregnant woman, our relationship is changing a bit because I don't want to pick him up as much. I'm like, 9 months pregnant almost.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need just a little bit of body space before I have another baby on my boob.
Yeah.
Again. Which is true, because it's you know, that physical space, and he's starting to get more clingy on me, which is great when he cuddles me, but he's also like grabbing at me more. You know, when he grabs, he pinches and things like that. So I think he's sensing that baby's coming, and he's starting to like hold on to me a little bit more. So that's been really interesting. And I think what's helped our connection in those spaces where he's kind of grabbing at me and I'm not quite ready is I'll just sit on the floor with him. So he can still feel physically connected to me, but I'm not lifting him and he's not pinching at me or grabbing at me, and we're seeing each other. So I think for us it's been that shift. And when he wants to come cuddle me, even if it's for 2 seconds, then I make sure that I do that. Yeah. Because I know that space is going to shift when this new baby comes. And then we're going to have to grieve not having an only child. Because that's a real thing too. I think is grieving that you have 2 babies and not just the one that you've been focusing on, right?
Grieving.
Yeah. My midwife actually told me that, and I was like, that's really interesting, is you're grieving that, like, if you have a partner, your tripod, where it's the 2 parents and the kid, and it's shifting into 2 kids. And she said, just be aware that these feelings might come up, they might not. But that made me think a lot, because I thought, oh yeah, you get so used to your tripod with your two parents if you have a partner,
right,
and your kid, and then that dynamic is gone. It shifts.
Are you going to continue with your artistry?
Yes.
After baby
Hell
2?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
You're not going to stop?
I painted last night, actually. I painted a crow. Yeah, so... And Luis was like, you should paint, baby. And I was like, no, let's just watch some trash TV, you know? He's like, no, I'll, turn the light on. He's so encouraging. And so I did, and it was really awesome.
I'm your host, Lady Dia Melodia. I'm your host, Lady Dia Melodia.
Willie for Millie, what up?
I'm your host, Lady Dia, aka Lady Dia Melodia. Shout out to all the mamas out there, and to all future parents listening. Get your notebook, baby, cause you going to class.
I'm still a baby. I can't do that.